my squeegees! The Boom Boom is back! I'm here today to help you break down the unbelievable drama that unfolded yesterday. Hopefully, everyone is hanging in there after seeing United States Attorney General Pam Bondi's statement. Before yesterday, coincidentally, I posted a comprehensive timeline video that I pinned on my TikTok's feeds. This timeline video brought all the details back from where it started, and it's very unexpectedly fitting to the recent developments that Pam Bondi brought to the case. If you read Pam Bondi's press release, she said that her decision is keeping in line with reviving of the federal death penalty and lifting the moratorium. She emphasized that this was political violence and that other innocent bystanders could have been hurt. She has directed acting United States Attorney Matthew Podolsky to pursue the death penalty in LM's case, and she has made it known publicly, in writing. Geez, they want to fuck him up so badly. Holy guacamole, mamma mia. So now we no longer need to question where the federal government stands on this case. It is very clear now they are seeking the death penalty, no matter how this case may proceed. The confirmation that the DOJ would seek the death penalty comes after President Donald Trump signed an executive order on his return to the White House in January, paving the way to revive the punishment. Pursuant to Executive Order number 14164, wherein the President has directed to seek the death penalty on interstate travel under USC 924 to unalive another person. Objectively, this is definitely not a good development for the LM case. If we examine what has been decided by KFA and all the other parties involved, the state case will go first before the federal. This places the federal prosecutors at a much distinct advantage. Until today, I do not understand why KFA agreed to have the state trial go first before the federal trial. As the state case unfolds, the federal prosecutors will get to watch intimately, in real time, how witnesses perform and withstand cross-examination. Even if LM was to be found not guilty at the state level, this absolutely does not prohibit the federal government from going forward. Part of the state's case rests upon a terrorism charge. This coincides with the federal government's position that this was political violence. This creates a vivid, synergistic effect for the prosecution of this case. Can the plot to get him thicken anymore? What does that mean? It means that the state is claiming this is an act of terrorism and can also be considered an act of political violence. In its essence, terrorism is an act of political violence. No matter what happens, it is clear to see how much the federal government will not want to lose this high-profile case. Attorney General Pam Bondi weighing in on this matter certainly not only raises the stakes much higher, but also will put much more pressure on the defense team to seek a way out of the ultimate punishment. If you want to get the most honest opinion, the ultimate punishment will be used to pressure LM and his defense team to seek a plea bargain for a global settlement. That means for both state and federal. If you are a loyal follower of mine, you have seen me showing you a comprehensive timeline where LM has been since he lived in Honolulu in 2022 all the way to December 4th, 2024. There is a big chunk of that timeline that transformed this boy into an alleged cold-blooded person that remains a big, fat mystery. Truly, what turns this seemingly harmless, Ivy League, educated, handsome man into an alleged cold-blooded unaliving as a mystery that cannot really be understood, a twist none of us can understand. On December 4th, 2024, an alleged cold-blooded person calmly walked away after unaliving a human being. Here the plot takes a twist. He still keeps the weapon and the fake ID for many days. If the person who unalived Brian Thompson was a professional hitman, that person would have automatically tried to get rid of the weapon and the fake ID along with everything incriminating rather than keeping them for a full 5 days. The things mentioned in the manifesto that was found with LM certainly supports the position that all of this was political violence, as stated by Attorney General Pam Bondi. In other words, if you want to look at every aspect of this case based on what's been gathered so far, our boy's in some really big trouble. As a smart individual, he had to have known keeping the weapon along with the manifesto and the fake IDs as an act of self-immolation. To this moment, LM has yet to be indicted federally, and prosecutors have indicated that both sides are okay with delaying that process while state prosecutors bring their case first. If he is convicted of the state charges, LM could be imprisoned for life without parole. I must say it was unusual for federal prosecutors to pursue the death penalty in states that do not issue capital punishment for state crimes. New York is one of roughly 24 states that does not have the death penalty. The last time federal prosecutors recommended the death penalty in New York was for Sapov, who drove a pickup truck into Manhattan's River Park in 2017, killing 8 people. In 2023, a jury in the Sapov trial was unable to reach a unanimous decision to authorize the death penalty in that case. He was instead sentenced to life in prison without parole. Even though AUSA Matthew Podolsky, following Pam Bondi's instruction to pursue the death penalty, in the end it is the federal grand jury who must decide whether the death penalty indictment will be issued against LM. So between now until the deadline of April 18th, 2025, the grand jury will be in the works. The federal prosecutors will present evidence to convince the grand jurors to produce a death penalty indictment. A federal grand jury is a hearing in super secret, closed-door proceedings where the grand jury evaluates evidence to determine if there's sufficient cause to try someone for a federal crime. Who is involved in the grand jury hearing? Grand jurors, a group of 16 to 23 people who serve for a set term. Assistant United States Attorney Matthew Podolsky presents evidence. This evidence includes calling witness testimony and documents. Witnesses can come to testify before the grand jury but cannot have any lawyer present. A court stenographer will be there to record the testimony. The defendant cannot be there, and the defense attorneys also cannot be there. They all meet in secret. Their deliberations are in secret. What happens in the grand jury proceedings? Grand jurors are citizens selected randomly from voter registrations and other sources. They may serve up to 18 to 24 months, but only need to appear in court for a few days out of every month. Regular trial jurors consist of 6 or 12 people. In the federal system, grand jury ranges from 16 to 23 people. Grand jury proceeds in strict confidence for 2 primary purposes. Witnesses can speak without fear of retaliation, and it protects a potential defendant's reputation if the grand jury decides not to indict. LM cannot attend this grand jury hearing. There will be no judge in the room, and Karen or Mark Agnifilo are also not allowed to be there when Matthew Podolsky is presenting evidence. At least 16 out of the 23 grand jurors must be present for a vote, and a unanimous decision is not required. At least 12 members must concur to indict a defendant under the federal rules of criminal procedures. If these 12 jurors believe there's probable cause, then they will issue an indictment, which is a written statement of the charges for LM. The grand jury could end up issuing an indictment with a death penalty, exactly what prosecutor Matthew Podolsky wants. Or second possibility could be the grand jury issues an indictment with less severe penalty. Or the third outcome could be that the grand jury cannot come up with a decision at all. This is called a no bill. If the result is a no bill, then what happens? Well, they can wait until this group of grand jurors' term is over or attempt to present stronger evidence to the same group of grand jurors. Remember, grand jurors are just regular citizens, and not all the panels of the people are of the same mindset. Is there a light at the end of this very long, dark tunnel? Well, let's imagine if you had the most powerful person in the country's justice system already decided your fate before you even get through a trial. Well, that's definitely a long, hard conversation for another day. Until next time, please take good care of yourselves and each other during this strange time. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time.